Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, it has been a long time since I have covered anything MMA Joey has said, but unfortunately for me, and now for you, there was a video suggested to me on my home feed that he did regarding the Ariel Helwani and the Jamahal Hill situation, and where he called Jamahal Hill a grifter, which is ironic because, in my opinion, his opinion is completely contrarian, and the only reason he has it is to be contrarian, but in his attempt to be contrarian, he implicates and alleges that Jamahal Hill committed a crime against Ariel Helwani, and not just that, openly advocates for the MMA media putting that on blast, having that as the main headline. He's upset that not a lot of people are talking about that fact. I'm going to go over that moment in his video in a little bit, but I just want to give you guys a little bit of background. If you don't know who MMA Joey is, he is a buffoonish, ogre, progressive retard.
Well, I would say virtually identical.
Who, for whatever reason, while being probably about 150 pounds overweight, people seem to want to listen to regarding MMA, which is insane to me. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that are just going to ignore the dumb shit that he says because his audience, compared to a lot, is relatively small. However, I felt it appropriate that I can do videos on him because his subscriber base is 12 times the size of mine, which is disheartening in a few ways. Not because I believe that I deserve more subscribers than him. He's got about 5 times at least the amount of videos I've got. He's been making content for a lot longer than I have, so it's only a matter of time before I surpass this ogre. However, it's disheartening to know that there's that many people that enjoy this guy's stuff enough and agree with his takes and enjoy his takes enough that they're going to hit the subscribe button, okay? I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background. So there's a few, I've done, as I said, I had done a couple videos on this guy, and I'm going to give you some of the topics as to why I did, because, you know, the guy's just got horrible fucking takes on a regular basis. So one take that he had that I could not stand was that Bilal Muhammad, who is a very unliked individual, typically because he's boring, and then tries to turn heel and you know, shit on certain fan bases, and it just doesn't seem to work for him. Also plays the victim card quite frequently, and then, you know, is racist towards Colby Covington himself, but whatever, dude. He says that Bilal Muhammad is not liked or respected due to racism and Islamophobia, but then in another video says that Bilal Muhammad's actually a bigger draw than Colby Covington. So, first of all, pick one. Second of all, why is it that whenever somebody is disliked, you know, and they're not pitch white, it has to be something like that? Like, this guy's obsessed with isms and obias, and I'll put up on the screen just a few of the videos that he's done on this topic, okay? It's absolutely ridiculous to me. The next one that he did, very similar, Israel Adesanya does not get the respect he deserves because of, you guessed it, racism, but not just that, homophobia, which is strange because as much as I don't like Israel Adesanya, and he wears nail polish, and, you know, if anything, you might be able to pinpoint him as a transgender because he's got that one boob going on. As far as I'm concerned, he's only dated women, right? He's had multiple girlfriends since he's been champion, and one of which is trying to take him for like half of his shit. So while people might poke fun at him for the nails, the dresses, whatever else, the pink hair, people are not seriously assuming he's gay and then being homophobic towards him. But okay, not to mention, dude's one of the most respected athletes in the sport despite my disdain for him. He's the highest paid active athlete on the roster. He's a huge superstar, friends with a ton of famous people, gets a ton of love and attention, has a huge following. Not disrespected. Just because there's a subsect of fans like myself that don't like him doesn't mean the guy doesn't get respect. Okay, he's a relatively dominant champion and has done a lot of good shit in the sport and is gonna absolutely leave a legacy behind. It is what it is. I can't stand the guy. Doesn't mean I don't respect what he's done in the sport, despite him having a boob. Okay, now he also is the kind of guy that gets visibly and viscerally upset at Holm making a very vague statement in saying, stop sexualizing the children, please, we have to protect the children at all costs. He had an absolute moment about this, he freaked out at her, wanting to the crowd to applaud for her friends and family, called her a dumb bitch, told her to get off the stage, and then when she mentioned this, pretended like he had no idea what she was talking about, and then decided to poke fun at her for her religion. Despite the fact that he's done so many videos on Islamophobia, which is a little strange and a complete and total double standard, especially considering he's so sensitive towards homophobia and stuff like that. You would think that the Muslims were the religion that you would go after, not the Christians, okay, right? But aside from that, she's the preacher's daughter, which, as far as I'm aware, there is a difference between a preacher and a priest, right? The Catholic priests are the one where this is all up, they have that issue with small children. A local preacher, if I'm not mistaken, is a term used by Christians, not Catholics. So, well, at least my understanding. So, while there is a small distinction, there is a distinction. Okay, so he's ignorant also. But what kind of human gets upset at that statement? Stop sexualizing our children, okay? And like, you know what I mean, dude. And I'll put up a tweet from Jamal Hill that I actually found, because since this video is about him, if you're not sure about what I'm talking about, this is what I'm talking about. He pretends on a regular basis that he is voicing unpopular opinions, right? The ones that I just mentioned, despite all of his opinions being basically the exact same as mainstream media's opinions, the kind of opinions that get pushed out to us through nowadays pop culture, right? And as I said, mainstream media, it's all over the news, it's all over movies, all over TV shows. You can't get away from it, okay? So him pretending that he's got an unpopular opinion is laughable. Now, I want to show you guys this clip of him talking about Jamal Hill, and I'll put that up right now.
About is a simple fact of, I'm not Rampage, bro. I'm not Rampage. I'm not gonna have the whole little playful little thing back and forth with you like that, bro. You keep disrespecting me and disrespecting my name, I'm gonna come see about you. Eventually, at some point, we'll be in the same room. The fact that I'm a man and a gentleman, regardless of anything, I'm a gentleman, is the reason why you would be okay. Not because of you, because you're not capable of ensuring yourself for being okay like that and that. I have to allow you to be okay.
So there you hear Jamal Hill, and this is when he's going off about Ariel Helwani towards the end of his first video. And essentially he goes on to say, I don't play these games. You're going to have to see me eventually. You're going to have to be in the same room as me eventually. And the only reason you would be allowed to be okay is because I decided you would be okay. Not because you could protect yourself, essentially. And what this is a thinly veiled threat by Jamal Hill. And I know we can argue semantics and saying Jamal didn't threaten him, because people have told me that when I've mentioned Jamal Hill threatened him. This is a grown man who happens to be a trained killer, a trained MMA fighter, threatening another grown man because he doesn't like the way that he frames questions to another grown man. But the fact that you were threatening him, and he kind of starts to backtrack it a little bit and like, oh, I'm a gentleman and I would never do. No, he's threatening him. He's threatening him. He's like, I don't play these games. You're going to have to see me in a room. I think it's disgusting. And I think people should have been talking about that. People should have been saying, oh, Jamal Hill threatens literal violence on an MMA media.
And what bothers me the most about this clip is that he is unironically implicating this man of committing a crime. 1. 2, he is asking, and not asking, he's saying that the media should have been putting this on blast. He's claiming it's disgusting. Meanwhile, the way that he's framing this is absolutely disgusting. Now, obviously, we're not going through the entirety of his video, but if you were to go torture your own self and listen to it, you would know that I left out a ton of retarded points that this man made, okay? Because I don't even know if I should call him a man. He's an ogre. But either way, dude, he made a ton of horrible points. I just left them out because I didn't want this video to be like 45 minutes long. We literally would have been here all day. The guy stripped everything of all context, right? Everything, which is annoying to me. I don't like when people do that. Jamal Hill has been disrespected by Ariel Helwani since he became champion. And it's not vaguely, it's not like hidden. It's out in the open. Ariel Helwani was essentially mocking him for being emotional after winning the Undisputed Championship, because he's not really the champion because Yuri Prohaska is still out there. which is odd to me because they beat the same Glover. Only Jamal Hill did it 100 times more impressively. I'll put the striking stats up on the screen. Not just that, though, he, mentioned that on multiple occasions since Jiri Prochazka's injured, Jamal Hill is not the best light heavyweight on planet Earth. Bellator maybe has that title, right, with Vadim Nemkov, which is also strange because he lost to Jiri Prochazka, and I know that we can't use MMA math for everything, but if he lost to Jiri Prochazka, and Jiri Prochazka almost lost to Glover Teixeira, and then Jamal Hill goes out there and dominates, it's just a strange thing to me, okay? And then he also brings up the fact that, the middleweight champion could potentially go up right now and beat the light heavyweight champion. This might be the easiest time for Israel Adesanya to claim double champ status and, all these things. And then when Jamal Hill gets an interview with Helwani, goes on there and calls him out for it, Helwani essentially gets butthurt and then starts trying to frame Jamal Hill's tweets, very simple tweets, mind you, keep your hands to yourself, things like this, I'll put up on the screen also, that Jamal Hill's essentially defending Dana White in hitting his wife back, and is saying, by virtue of defending Dana White, that if a woman hits you, you should hit her back, which, one, is not what he said. Two, if we're not talking about your wife, sounds like common self-defense. And three, is just the slimiest fucking journalist tactic I have ever seen in my life. And it was very, very clear to me that it was out of spite because Jamal Hill was not going to just allow Ariel Helwani to get away with shit that he had said prior and was coming on to call him out for it. And I don't think Ariel Helwani's used to that, and I don't think that he liked it. MMA Joey is a fucking retard, and it bothers me that he spews this kind of narrative out to 11,000 plus subscribers, because that means there's a large, he did get fairly ratioed on this video. If you look at the percentage compared to the views, I would imagine he got a lot of dislikes. And if you read the comments, there are a lot of people voicing disagreements with him, but it is, it's just irritating to me that there's somebody out there poisoning the well for that many fans. Do you know what I mean? I just don't like it. And to accuse Jamal Hill essentially of committing a crime, later on in the video he goes on to say how Ariel Helwani could sue him and blah 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 blah. You're not just talking about suing, right? You are accusing him of threatening with violence, which, by the way, Jamal Hill, I don't think a lot of people give him enough credit for this. I think Jamal Hill has a very good grasp of the English language, and in that clip he was more than careful, extremely careful, to not make that a threat. What he said could be interpreted in many different ways. Violence is the last one I would jump to, because I'm not going to assume that a heavyweight, or a light heavyweight champion, pardon me, is going to go beat up some scrawny fucking dweeb who has made his living off of doing, I interpret that as, if we're in a room together, you're going to be okay because I say so. Meaning, I'm not going to embarrass you in front of all your fucking peers because I'm a gentleman, and I'm not going to cause a scene. You know what I mean? If you want to think that perhaps there were some violent undertones there, keep that shit to yourself, because when you voice that, you are alleging him, or alleging that he committed a crime, which is bullshit, man. And he didn't, not a single time, mention anything violent, anything physical. He was very careful with his words, and I applaud him for it. Now, I want to show a clip that I went and found of Ariel Helwani, and just an example of why I could see so many fighters being irritated with him, because he does shit like this. I don't think a lot of people caught on to this. I know Jamal Hill did, though. I watched Ariel Helwani's response a few days ago, and I noticed it right away, and I thought, what a fucking dirtbag. And then I didn't see anybody cover it or bring up this line that he said. And when it was brought up, it was interpreted in a completely different way. But then when I watched Jamal Hill's video responding to Ariel Helwani's response, okay, inception shit, I could tell that he realized. He goes, you're very good with the English language. He said, that was funny, actually. Let's move on. He didn't expand on it. He left it at that. I'm going to play that clip for you, and then I'm going to tell you why I think this is such a shitty thing to do, okay? So here it is.
I don't know where we got off on the wrong foot, because the last text conversation that I had with Jamal was actually a very nice and cordial one. But for whatever reason, there's been a bit of a heel turn.
In my opinion right there, Ariel Helwani, without a doubt, is taking a shot, poking fun at, very cleverly, very under the radar-ish, at Jamal Hill's injury, which is kind of fucked up. Because one of the things he's been accusing Jamal Hill of is not being respectful in regards to Yuri Prohaska's injury, which I don't know that there's a whole lot of evidence of that, but regardless, Jamal Hill has suffered a very serious injury, right? And he's going to be out for a good while. Now, does anybody know where the Achilles tendon is? And yeah, it's essentially your heel, right? I'll put a picture up on the screen. If you haven't seen Troy, or if you're not a doctor, I don't fucking know. In my opinion, he's taken a shot poking fun at Jamal Hill's injury, which I think is a pretty shitty thing to do, all things considered. You know what I mean? The man was just, or is still, I guess, the champion until whoever's fighting for the vacant belt steps inside that cage. But he's gonna have to give up his belt. He's gonna be giving up millions of dollars that go along with that belt, and whoever he would have defended against next, he's gonna be giving up legacy, all of that shit, because of a pretty tragic injury, you know what I mean, a catastrophic injury, and you're gonna poke fun at it, you know what I mean. This is the kind of shit that Ariel Helwani does, that, in my opinion, is why so many people dislike him, why so many people were on board with what Jamal Hill was doing when he made that video, whereas this ogre just can't wrap his head around it, or is, ironically enough, because he called Jamal Hill a grifter himself, doesn't believe a word of what he's saying, and is trying to get views with having an unpopular opinion. Kind of the same way that he puts on Twitter that Dustin Poirier's, you know, the head kick that Justin Gaethje landed on Dustin Poirier could potentially be overturned due to the fact that the foot hit the back of the head, when, if you've seen any flush head kick land ever, you will know that that's just what happens. It is what it is. You know what I mean? The impact was made with the shin, not the foot. You're not getting knocked out because the top of the guy's foot is hitting you in the back of the head. You're getting knocked out because the shin is connecting with your jaw or your neck. And then when people call him out for it on Twitter, he tries to walk it back and gaslight everybody, pretend like he's just asking questions. So this guy's an absolute dirtbag, piece of shit. He's alleging that Jamal Hill committed a crime, which I don't think he realizes how serious those allegations are. Because, as I said, it wouldn't just be Ariel Helwani suing him. That's a criminal offense. You can't utter violent threats to another person. So fuck this dude. Like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you are an MMA Joey viewer, please try to explain to me why in the comment section, because I'm having a hard time understanding why anybody, for that matter, it doesn't even need to be just a man, why anybody would look at that guy and think that, yeah, that's a credible source of information and takes on a sport like MMA. Anyways, I'll see you at the next video. Bye-bye.